Today, we're going to be adding dry hops to Bud Light. Hey, wait a minute, you got me Corona Light. Today, we're going to be adding dry hops to Corona Light. Basically, we're going to open this bottle, add some hops, let it steep for a couple days, chill it and crash it, and then come back and try to taste it and see how it works out. Well, stick around as I fumble through this process and see if we learn something. Well, thanks a lot for stopping by Cascades Homebrew. My name is Brent. So today, I'm going to be adding hops to Corona Light. There's several different articles, forum posts about people dry hopping Bud Light. Bud Light seems to be the beer of choice. Maybe after this, I'll learn why people like Bud Light. It's probably just because of the low flavor that it has. Probably works out well. Well, I went with Corona Light for a couple reasons. One, I figured I could use some clear bottles for some future experiments. Two, I figured the clear bottles would give a little bit more visibility, both for you and me, and exactly what the hops are doing in the bottle. And three, these are one of the few kind of cheap beers that are in recapable bottles. So I'm hoping I'm able to pry out the lids, put them back on, and use the bottles just the way they are. So as far as the ingredients I have today, basically I have some bottles of Corona Light. Picked up a 6-pack, so I have 4 of them here today. I've got one that I set aside as a control batch. So I guess one concern I have with the Corona is about skunkiness. Corona, especially in these clear bottles, often has a little bit of a skunk character. Is that going to interfere with the hop character? Well, we'll see. Then the other ingredient I have is hops. Sometimes the articles are a little vague about how much hops to use, just add a couple pellets. So that's one question I want to answer. What amount of hops works well? So in my mind, I usually think in 5-gallon batches and then how many ounces. I usually like 2 ounces for me, it's kind of like a pale ale. 4 or 5 ounces, that's kind of a good West Coast IPA amount. 10 ounces, that would be a big dry hop, say in a New England IPA. So basically I translated those into grams so that 2 ounce would be about 1.1 grams into a bottle. That 5 ounce dry hop would be 2.6 grams into a bottle. And then that 10 ounce would be 5.3 grams. So I measured out 3 amounts of Simcoe hops, meeting those targets, and we're going to add those to a beer. Also went with Azacca hops in the medium level. So you'd think Azacca and Simcoe hops should add quite a bit of different characters to a beer, so that'll be interesting to see. Are we just getting kind of the green vegetable matter flavor from the hops? Are we getting those more distinct hops that we would expect from them? So hopefully with these 4 beers, we're able to evaluate what is a good amount of hops to add for this experiment. And 2, are we getting good characters between different hops? Does it make it a valid experiment to try to evaluate hop flavors? As far as the equipment that I have, really simple. I've got my opener. I've got a quarter to put on top to help get the bottles off. We'll show that to keep the lids in. I'm hoping to reuse the caps, but if we're not, I've got some other bottle caps that I can put on. I've got my capper. So I won't need this today, but I have this little kitchen strainer that I figured I could use if I need to filter out the hops for tasting. I got a tray here, just in case we get some overflow. I don't make a big mess in my kitchen. Some paper towels handy too as well. Well, let's get into this. Let's start with the Simcoe and the 1.1 grams of hops. You see it's just a very small amount of hops. This is a trick I learned from a buddy that saves bottle caps. If you put a quarter over the top of it before you pry it off, then it keeps it in pretty good shape. There we go. Put that back on there. Well, it's just snapped on pretty good. I might not even need to crimp them down, but. All right, there we are. That's the one with 1.1 grams of hops. Let's go and move on to the next ones. It's quite a bit more hops than that one. Now moving on to the Azacca. So that went remarkably smooth. So we're going to set these aside. It's kind of interesting to watch. You can see the hops dropping down, kind of cause the nucleation points. You get a little bubbling going on. Hopefully that's not a problem. I'll set these aside someplace in case they leak or, I don't think they're going to explode or anything on me, but set them aside so we don't make a mess for a couple days. I'm going to keep them at room temperature for a few days and then cold crash them for a couple days and then come back and evaluate them and see how they do. So we'll check on these in a couple days and see how the hops are doing. Here we are at 2 days. There's a lot of hops in there. The hops originally kind of floated on the top and there was a puck of it on the top. I flipped them, it settled out. So here's the one with only 1 gram. Still quite a bit of hops in that one. If we look at those. If we flip over to the one, the more extreme one, the 5.3 grams. That's a lot of hops in there. Look tasty. So it'll be interesting to see how well these settle out. So I'll go ahead and stir them up a little bit today, and then I will put them in the fridge for a couple days, and then see where my schedule allows me to cycle back in and taste them. Here's the one with Azacca hops. So it's a Friday night, time to drink some Coronas. So I've got the beers here. Here are the 4 that are dry hopped. Interesting to see, there's definitely more haze, the ones that are higher dry hopped, than the one that's a little less dry hopped. And then the one that was not dry hopped is very clear. So I'm glad I went with the clear bottles. It's kind of interesting to see how much hops are in there. Even the one that's only 1.1 gram, basically the equivalent of an ounce per gallon, that's quite a bit. The one with the 5, wow, there's a lot of hops in that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to crack these open. So everything I've read about online, people talk about tends to foam a lot. And then I think with just the matter in there probably gives nucleation sites, so they may foam up a lot. So that's why I'm up here in my kitchen near the sink. I've got some towels and some cloths nearby in case we make a mess. I've got this tray. So we'll go ahead and try to crack these open. I'm not quite sure how much hops will get in there. So I've got this strainer we might use to try to remove some of the hops. Well, we'll see how it goes. Adding hops to the bottle went incredibly smooth. Hopefully we can be as lucky again. So I'm starting with a lesser hop one. So this is 1.1 grams of Simcoe hops. Wish me luck. First one went really nice. Let's try the next ones. And the Big Daddy. So remember, we did 3 with Simcoe. This one is Azacca at 2.6 grams in the bottle. So that went really smooth. I just read a lot of posts of people saying that when they opened the bottles, half of it foamed out and they had gushers. Even saw one person said they got some exploded bottles. Well, that one really smooth. Maybe it's just the different beer, or maybe I just got lucky. So since I've got a lot of beer here to drink, I'm not going to open it the plain Corona, unless I think it might be useful. So let's go in. So this is start with Simcoe. Yeah, let me go ahead and open up the plain Corona, just as a reference. So I went ahead and poured some of the plain Corona. Visually, you can see it's much more clear than the dry hopped. This one, the heavily dry hopped one, and compared visually, this is the one with the medium dry hopped, and the lightly dry hopped one with just a little bit of a haze to it. So for the Corona, I'm getting kind of that typical Corona. I don't get much skunky, maybe just a little touch of a skunky character that is kind of typical of Corona in clear bottles. But I've definitely had Corona that was much more intense of a skunky kind of character, so that's good. I was a little worried that the skunk may kind of overpower some of the hops, or may just at least interfere with it. So if we compare the lightly hop, yeah, I mean, you definitely get a lot different hop aroma on those. This one smells just kind of like I think, I don't know, corn. I don't know if it's corn, rice, or just the typical kind of North American lager kind of character that you get. Or the lightly hopped one, I'm definitely getting some Simcoe character, some Simcoe aroma. All right, let's go for the aroma. So I feel like the second up one, I'm getting a little bit of a kind of a green vegetable-y kind of character. A little less where I got the lighter hop one. I felt like I was just getting a little bit more of a kind of a clean, fruity Simcoe bright character. Yeah, and this one's definitely even more of it, more of a kind of green grassy kind of. All right, and then what about the Azacca? Are we getting something different? So again, so these should be comparable to these. I don't know if I'd be able to tell them apart. They definitely have a vegetable kind of character. Let's go through and taste the beers. Again, Corona. Very light, very inoffensive, you know, decent drinking beer. Again, I'm not getting a lot of that sort of characteristic skunk character. Maybe just a touch, but it's not overpowering. So the lightly hopped one, I mean, definitely it's a very thin body, right? Just because it's the base beer. The flavor is just a little bit still kind of vegetable-y kind of flavors. You know, a little bit of that kind of cut grass kind of character. Overall, Simcoe hop character is light in that. Okay, the medium hopped one, I'm getting more hop flavors. It's still, so they both have a bit of a kind of green grass, kind of vegetable-y flavor. All right, I'm getting more Simcoe character from that one though. Let's go with the heavily hopped one. So I actually feel like I get a little bit of a bitterness or maybe a little bit of a harshness to it. So initial impression, I felt like I was getting some good Simcoe hop aroma on this one, but the flavor was light. Or these ones had kind of an increasing amount of kind of that green grass kind of character. Felt like this one maybe had a little bit more Simcoe hop flavors, but not like, I wouldn't say it's a very pleasant hop flavor. It's still, it's just a little bit that sort of green grass. I keep saying that over and over, but that's kind of what I associate with that kind of cut grass flavor. Just a touch of bitterness, where this one has a little bit more of a harsher bitterness and a little bit more of the green grass. All right, and let's go to the Azacca, see if we're getting some different characters than we are from the Simcoe. So I guess my impression, comparing the Azacca and then the Simcoe that was dry hopped at the same rate, there's a little bit difference in character, but it's pretty subtle. I feel like neither of them are really very enjoyable beers. You definitely get like a little bit of a hop character. I think the aroma on them is more pleasant than the flavor. The flavor is, again, just that sort of cut grass. So with the number of articles and posts that I've read about people dry hopping, you know, usually they use Bud Light, but dry adding hops to commercial beers and being able to evaluate the hops, I was really had my expectations kind of high. I'm kind of let down here. I don't feel like I could taste these and decide if I would want to use Simcoe or would want to use Azacca. I don't feel that, you know, I think maybe this middle range, you know, maybe somewhere around 2 grams is probably a sweet spot. Just a combination of getting a little bit more flavor, getting some aroma. So for comparison, let me go pull a little bit of my Simcoe Pale Ale. I still have some left in the keg. So I got a little bit of my Simcoe Pale Ale. There's condensation on the glass, but the beer is dropped crystal clear. It's really pretty beer. It's something I really enjoy drinking. So this beer kind of gets me excited to brew more single hop pale ales, or maybe 2 combo pale ales. I really like drinking pale ales, even though that ABV on this one turned up a little higher. So if we compare some of the character of my Simcoe Pale Ale, which was not dry hopped, to the Corona Light that was dry hopped with Simcoe, you get a little bit of the same character. Like I mentioned, I think the lighter hop one gets a little bit better aroma. Yeah, I mean, the flavor is a night and day difference as far as like, this is actually something enjoyable to drink. These ones are thin with Again, that sort of cut grass, vegetable-y kind of hop character. So to close out, yeah, I just wasn't that impressed with the results I get here. I didn't feel like I got good Simcoe character from these ones. I don't feel like I got good Azacca hop character from that one. They don't compare to the single hop pale ale that I brewed that's got some really nice character. And overall, I just don't feel like this has given me enough information to evaluate a hop and determine if I want to use it in a beer. So what about you? Have you tried to dry hop Bud Light, Corona Light, another commercial beer? Did you have better luck than me? Is there something I could have done differently? But this is just one of my videos on evaluating hops, trying to figure out what hops you like, what character, what are some different methods. So I've talked about doing hop teas. I did a hop sampler. I did the pale ale, the Simcoe pale ale. We dry hopped some Coronas. I've got another round of a hop sampler going right now that hopefully will turn out a little better than the last one. I also brewed a New England IPA that's 100% Simcoe hops. I also have a couple other ideas, maybe some hop teas that I'm going to try. So if you enjoy that kind of content, make sure you subscribe. I have a link to the playlist up here so you can check out more of my hop evaluation series. And also, check out some of my other videos. My hopes are that with this information, you can build some great beers. Cheers!